Hi everybody, it's Christina and thank you for joining me. So in yesterday's video we made some texture paste and we popped it into a screw top jar and we labelled it when we'd made it. So now we know that that will last for a good few weeks in that jar, and as long as we put the lid back on properly when we've used it, it will keep it. So we used glue, talcum powder and some paint. We also used a stencil. Now in today's video we're going to use a different stencil and we're going to use some embossing powder. So I've got two shades of pink here, one is glittery and one is just plain, and I want to do a tone on tone colour on this card. So let's start by adding the texture paste. So I've taped my card to the glass mat and my stencil to the card, and we're going to use the texture paste and just apply it to the top of the stencil. Now because this is quite thick, it's not going to seep underneath that stencil, so we can apply this all over. We'll take off the excess and we can pop that back into the jar. So now we need to clean off our things. We need to clean off the top of this, and then if you wrap some cling film around the top, put your lid back on, that will keep that safe. So now let's remove the stencil. We need to clean the stencil as well so that it doesn't dry on there. So we just pop that into a bowl of hot, soapy water, and then while this is still wet we're going to sprinkle on the embossing powder. So I'm using the sparkly one. We're just going to add it all over. We'll catch it on some copy paper. We'll make sure that that comes all the way down. There it is. And now what we can do now is heat that with our gun. So once you start to heat this with your heat gun, the texture paste will bubble, but the embossing powder will melt and you'll have a beautiful effect on that card. So there's your tone on tone look with your embossing powder into the texture paste. Now if you wanted this into a shape, you would need to do it before you add the embossing powder, because once you've added the powder and the texture paste and then run it through the die cutting machine, it flattens the design. So to keep it raised, you need to either cut it by hand or cut your shape first. This looks almost metallic. Now another way I've used it is on some designer paper. So I've stamped some text onto it and I've just used part of the stencil to add the texture paste to my design. So these I'm now going to make into cards. So I've trimmed this panel down to fit on this card, and these are just some of the others that I've done. We have a square card there with a gold mat, and that's going to sit on there. This was one that I created in the video yesterday, and this is another one. This also has a mat to it, and that's going to sit on there. And around that I think we'll wrap some ribbon along the bottom. This one is a larger card and that's going to sit on there, and we'll see what else we can come up with in the course of the video. So these are just some of the bases that I've created. Now if you cut a piece off your main card, don't throw it away. You can always use that to add to another card. And this of course will make a 5x7. And next comes the fun part of dressing them up. So we can add in the flowers and the leaves and the sentiments in any way you wish to your cards. Add glitter, add sparkle, add some diamante, and there you've got some really pretty cards. None of these have been glued in place yet. I have to just have a dry run and see where I like them, and then I can add the glue. So whether you use them as full panels or use your dies to cut them into shapes, just add them to your cards where and how you would like them, and dress them up with flowers and leaves and anything else that you want to add to your card. So we'll put this down here, and like I say, always have your dry run first. These can go along there, these flowers can go into the bottom, and the sentiment can go along there. So here are just some of the ways that I've dressed up my cards using the homemade texture paste and a stencil. I've used different stencils on different cards. I've used embossing powders and glitters, as well as the colouring of the paste, and that's been shown to you in the previous video that I added yesterday. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please join me on the next one, and why not subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, and then you'll always be aware when I add a new video. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.